our quick NFL Week 3 recap, where we talk about the rest of the games. And Amber, I hope you didn't go anywhere, because the first game that we're going to talk about is the Chiefs beat the Bears 41-10. Going into this week, Patrick Mahomes, he restructured his contract. Now the annual value is much higher. And also Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift appear to be an item. So, Manny, whether if you want to talk about Kelce and Swift or the game, what did you think of this?
Um, I feel sorry for the Bears as an organization. I'm gonna just start there real quick.
I feel
Um,
bad for Justin Fields.
because when I look at Justin Fields, I honestly don't think he's a bad quarterback. I just think there's just bad coaching.
Running back.
Oh
Well,
no!
there goes Manny.
Can,
Hello.
can,
We
hello,
still got you, Manny. We lost
gotcha.
you for a second, but we still got you. Go ahead.
Um, yeah, I just think it comes down.
Running back.
And we're back. So I
Okay,
guess I'll
well,
take over for Manny.
please do. Yeah, let us
So
hear
coming
about
in,
the inferior Kelsey and Swift duo.
so just finishing Manny's sad story with the Chicago Bears 2023. I have been the president of the Justin Fields fan club, their number one supporter, an
Turn in
Ohio
your
State
badge.
fan, and I'm stepping down. I'm turning in my
Step
badge.
down, turn in your
I've
badge.
seen enough. I've seen enough.
Pick it
You
up.
know, I got him on my fantasy team. I believed in him. Toddy's talking about I'm trying to trade my running back, and he's talking about Justin Fields, and I just can't sit around and take this anymore. All offseason, I talked about how he was going to take this Jalen Hurts lead. He's getting his A.J. Brown. He's getting his Stephon Diggs. DJ Moore has 11 catches for 170 yards, 1 touchdown, and 15.5 yards a catch. He only has 15 targets on the season. Justin Fields, as a passer, threw 10 to 19 yards, 0 touchdown, 3 interceptions, 15 yards, 1 of 11, a 0.0 passing rating. The highest rating you get is 160, 20 plus yards in the air, 121.1 passer rating, which is very high, 2 passing touchdowns, 6 of 14, and 147 yards. This team has to figure it out. Their defensive coordinator just resigned, just said, you know what, I'm tired of this, I'm out. This, like Shaun mentioned, this is just so dysfunctional. Seeing Justin Fields another opportunity, I would love to see him in, but right now in Chicago, like Toddy said, man, I'm turning in my badge. I can no longer be the president. So, Shaun, if you want to take over, I'll be co-president, but I can't keep putting my name to this, man.
You know, until I see Justin Fields on a different team not playing well, I refuse to give up on him. I absolutely refuse. And so until
Gotta let that go, Shaun. Gotta let that go.
You know what you should let go of is Justin Fields on your fantasy team. I got Vanilla Vic for you. It's okay. You can rethink it. Anyways, we'll move on to the next game. AKA Daniel Jones, who is better than Kenny Pickett. There you go. So the Chargers, they beat the Vikings 28-24, and the news leading into the week is that excuse me, I put that on the wrong. No, I didn't. I'm sorry. Speaking out loud. Cam Akers, he was traded to the Vikings for a swap of 2026 draft picks for a conditional 6th, for a conditional 7th with the LA Rams. Got the LA teams mixed up for a second. And the sad news from this Vikings game is that for the Chargers, Mike Williams, their wide receiver, tore his ACL against the Vikings. And so, Khalil, what did you think about this? Because the Vikings are in your division, and they seem to be the team that is going to compete with the Packers and Lions for the division crown, but maybe not this year.
The Vikings, like what I like to say, but it's not. I expect this out of the Vikings. They're just the Vikings in our division. I mean, I felt like because Aaron Rodgers is gone, they thought they were going to run the division. I see right through that. Last year they won how many games? Like 13, but most of them were all come back from behind wins. They're not a complete team yet. Their offense is sometimes pedestrian. They have one of the best receivers in the league, and yet still continuously lose games. He's going over 100 yards like every game so far this year, and haven't won a game. And as for the Vikings, Chargers. My bad. As for the Chargers, they needed this win. They almost lost it at the end. which I completely do not understand his thought process in this. I feel like that their coach, he probably has to go. Taking too many risks. I feel like you have an elite quarterback that might bail you out sometimes, but it's not always going to work out that way, especially since their top receiver went down. One of their top receivers, Keenan Allen, stood over there. One of their top receivers went down. They're going to have to figure some things out with their coaching.
So, Jaevon, the Colts, they beat the Ravens 22-19 in overtime.
Yeah, Minshew, he kind of went in there and shocked the world for the most part. The weather kind of played a role in this game a little bit. Zay Flower was kind of the leading receiver. No Odell in this game. No one in the world picked the Indianapolis Colts to win. I know I didn't. I didn't bet that game at all because the Ravens were like minus 400 favorites, so it just didn't make sense for me. But I don't know. It was a very weird game. I thought Lamar would have kind of came out, kind of pissed off and just, kind of go on a tear that he's kind of been on. I thought he's been playing well up until yesterday. This kind of says a lot about the Colts. The Colts they have a very underrated defense. I think their D-line is solid. Their linebacking core is solid. Back seven could be a little bit better, but I feel like if you have a solid D-line, your back seven doesn't have to be as legit. And, I mean, they're on a 2-game winning streak. They put up 38 points last week with Gardner Minshew. I think we have to start talking about who's winning the AFC South, because are we sure that the Jags are going to win it now? Because the Jags have looked kind of pedestrian these last 2 weeks. Very suspect. And I think the Colts are 2-1. Houston is, people are saying that they think CJ Stroud is putting up numbers that Cam Newton, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. I think in the first couple of years, he's thrown in the first 3 games of their career, they've thrown for 900 yards plus. I think the stat was the list was Cam Newton, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, just a bunch of great quarterbacks pretty much. And I think they have a very formidable coach in DeMeco Ryans, former 49er defense coordinator, by the way. And they've been looking very good. Nico Collins has been a guy that has been killing in fantasy, I guess. I don't know where the hell he came from, but he has been going insane. He's been playing like a top receiver if you kind of look at his numbers. So, CJ Stroud, man, I don't even think he's thrown a pick, if I'm not mistaken. He might have thrown maybe one or two, but I could be wrong. But he has not been he's been very accurate. He's throwing for a lot of yards, and he's not turning the ball over. And that's everything you can ask for in a quarterback.
So just for our audio-only listeners, Kevin had to step out for a moment just to take a call, and I think he's actually coming back right now. So we'll see him soon. But I want to talk about this next game real quickly myself, because our guy Evan, who was in the YouTube comments earlier, he was talking about something completely different, but he said that was an atrocity. And I know he wasn't talking about the game I'm about to talk about, but this game that I'm about to talk about, Evan, that was an atrocity. As the Browns beat the Titans 27-3, the Browns, who looked so dysfunctional against the Steelers on Monday night, they somehow come in and beat the brakes off of the Titans, who were supposed to be a contender, at least. Titans could have been in that conversation for the AFC South, at least. Not if you can't beat the Browns and you lose to the Browns 27-3. So shout out to Evan, because that was an atrocity.
Never back with Titans ever again.
Yeah, the defense is better than you think. The Browns defense.
Top 5. I think they're in that top 5.
So the Patriots, they beat the Jets 15-10. What did you think, Manny?
Rock fight.
It's a battle of the worst of the worst. I mean, it's one of those picky poisons. It's just unfortunate for the Jets. I know we keep talking about it with Aaron Rodgers' loss, because I think they could have been a real good contender. But now that they have Zach Wilson, it's just he is what he is, at the end of the day. And so with those 2 games, I'm be completely honest, it's one of those games where it's Whoever wins. Is it going to matter? Are any of these teams? Do you see any of these teams happen to be in the playoffs? No. So
at the beginning of the year, I had the other team.
At
The Super Bowl.
Of the year, yeah, you can say like, "Hey, the Jets are going to make the playoffs." But now that A-Rod's gone, you got Zach Wilson. Do you expect them to do anything? No. So, yeah.
All right, and so the Bills, they beat the Commanders 37-3. It was not even close. So, Khalil, what do you think about that matchup?
They did what they were supposed to do.
They
They beat a bad team. The Commanders got Chase Young back, so they got their defensive star back. So they did what they were supposed to do in that game to dominate a lesser opponent. So it's not surprising, and finally showed what Josh Allen's supposed to do, not what he did week 1. Yeah.
Well, Khalil, I'm going to toss it back to you for this next game because the Lions, they beat the Falcons by a score of 20-6. And the reason why I'm tossing it back to Khalil is because that's his division being the NFC North. And I picked the Lions to win the NFC North. But Khalil, tell me why I'm wrong.
I've been saying this. Lions haven't been to the playoffs since 93, and they're looking very motivated to make the playoffs. So they might make the playoffs, but I'm not saying that they're going to beat my Packers.
Lions travel to Lambeau on Thursday night, by the way.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say that they're due for a playoff run, but Jared Goff's been playing well. Their defense has been playing well. So, hey, they look good. They look good. I'll give them that.
Khalil, just to correct you real quick, I think you meant to say that they haven't won the division since 1993 because they've made the playoffs in recent years.
Oh yeah.
Back in 2011, 2014, 2016, they did have that streak of not making it for 12 years. Exactly. Yeah, I was thinking back to the Matthew Stafford years that he made the playoffs at least a couple times. But anyways, the point being that I asked Khalil about winning the division, and that's something that the Lions haven't done in 30 years. So we'll see if they can actually do that this year. And you know what? I'm not going to I could have done the order better on this, but anyways, Khalil, I'm not going to have you talk about your team. Manny, I want to hear about this. The Packers beat the Saints 18-17.
It was, I will give credit to Jordan Love, just because the Saints aren't a horrible defense. They don't have a horrible defense. The Saints
they have a really good defense.
Been known for at least a better defensive teams. But will I say like, oh, Jordan Love is he came back against the Saints. I mean, who does the Saints necessarily have at least on the offensive side to where they can actually put up points? I mean, granted, Derek Carr got knocked out. Getting hurt. Yep. He ended up getting hurt, but I also am not super excited about them.
Thanks for the Seahawks.
Don't do that. Don't do that. We're not doing that. But it was a formidable win. They got their new quarterback in Jordan Love. Playing at home, so you had the crowd on your side. And for them to come back and get a W, give credit where credit's due.
No Aaron
Jones. Kevin,
I'm salty about that.
Go ahead.
No Aaron Jones. No Jair Alexander. No Christian
Watson.
We did that without our star players. I'm not saying that
they come back,
but I'm not saying like we should. It would have been more. It would probably have been a closer game, but we didn't play all 4 quarters. We played 1 quarter, 4th quarter.
Are those guys coming back Thursday? Do you know?
Huh?
Do you know if Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, Jair come back on Thursday?
The report said that Aaron Jones was supposed to play Sunday, but they didn't want to play because we had a short week, so they didn't want to overexert him. So I expect Aaron Jones to be back. As for Christian Watson, I don't know what's going on.
He ain't even been practicing. Yeah.
Yeah, I got him on my fantasy team, and it has been a huge disappointment every week because it's like, oh, He might play. Just kidding. He's out, and we're going to not make that decision until 9 a.m. on Sunday. So I have to wait every single week to try and make a move with that guy. So that's
Can I just say something about the Saints real quick? Because I'm a Saints fan. I haven't gone to the NFC Championship game. I think there's a lot of Saints slander on here. They came out and jumped to a 17-0 lead. They were looking good. Got a punt return for a touchdown. I thought their offense looked all right going into it. Manny said they don't really have anybody on offense. Alvin Kamara just got freed from his 3-game suspension, so he will be coming back and have something to say about that. They have Chris Olave, who I think is a top young receiver in this league, and they have Slant Boy, by the way, who is once upon a time was a top 5 receiver. So I think their offense is very formidable. It's just when you have a guy in Jameis Winston throwing them the ball, you're going to look very pedestrian, and eating W's is not going to come as easier as it looks. So they're up 17-0, I think at half, and then going into the third, and then once Carr freaking sprained his AC joint, they couldn't do anything, and Jay Boo was out there doing God knows what, looking like a deer in headlights. So your offense is going to look like that when Jameis Winston's your quarterback. So just want to say that on sense.
So for those who don't know, Kevin is the president of the Dougie P fan club, but Dougie P had a rough Sunday as the Texans beat the Jaguars 37-17. So what do you think, KD? Unmute yourself, please.
Thank you. It's been sad to watch, man. You know, I was all on them. I was all on the hype train last year to see them come back in the Chargers playoff game last year. And you were expecting them to only get better with the addition of Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley, besides that first game, has been really pedestrian. Christian Kirk has been coming up big for him. Evan Ingram's been coming up big for him. Zay Jones. Tank Bigsby, I think, is going to be a really great running back. I think that running back room is going to be phenomenal. But I really wanted to get on here and talk about my man, Coleridge Bernard Stroud, offensive rookie of the year. He hasn't thrown a single interception all season. 20 of 30, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns. He is coming to play. DeMarco Ryan picked the right guy to start off his franchise. We can see DeMarco running up and down the field, getting this team energized. This team is not the same Texans team from old. Bringing in Tank Dell, who no one thought he was going to have this kind of impact. We saw him do it at the college level, but no one thought it was going to be able to translate. But for him to go for 5, for the audio-only listeners, we have Shaun ripping away the OHIO for all of you guys. But for him to go in there with 145 yards and 1 touchdown, Tank Dell is going to continue to get better, and this offense is only going to get better with a young running back like Damon Pierce. This offense has a lot of weapons. I'm a big Dalton Schultz fan. You know, Shaun's a Stanford guy, so I'm a bit following him a lot of love. But I think this Texas team is going to be good. And, you know, C.J. Stroud was the best quarterback on the field on Sunday.
That says a lot. How good is this?
Did you notice how Kevin didn't want to acknowledge that Dalton Schultz was a former Cowboy?
Yeah.
We skip over that in people's careers.
Yeah.
Sad time for them.
It's starting to come out, and like a lot of people are starting to shit on that 2021 QB draft and how good it actually was. Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence.
Generational talent, Trevor Lawrence.
So he's not a lot of people aren't really coming for his head as they are for Zach Wilson, although he does look suspect and probably shouldn't be playing. Trey Lance, we haven't really even seen play. Mac, who was a Pro Bowler, that could be, you could take that how that is and what that might look like.
Needs receiver.
And then, you know, Trevor Lawrence is a guy that has to play better, you know, former number 1 overall pick. They're saying that he's going to take a leap this year, next year. He's won a playoff game. That might just be Brandon Staley is the worst NFL coach in the league. He did throw 4 picks in that game, by the way. And then, you know, the next week it took a Patrick Mahomes injury for them to almost win another playoff game. So coming out into next year and kind of just like almost shitting the bed and just, you know, not playing well in several games, not really being able to move the ball, scoring 6 points in one game, and then only scoring how many points did they score this last game? They haven't really been able to score that much. And when you have a guy in Calvin Ridley, who's a guy who can get open at will, and he's not really getting the ball, it's kind of shown a lot. And Dougie P is an offensive minded coach, and he wants to scheme these guys open, but it's up to Trevor Lawrence to be able to get these guys the ball. And I don't think he's been doing a very good job of that in these past 3 weeks. Now, as Shaun already said, it's only week 3, so maybe we'll see a lot of movement from now until the end of the season. But right now, they're in like last place in the division, if I'm not mistaken. And I think the Colts are in first, which is a shocker. I don't think anybody would have said that after 3 weeks that the Colts would be number 1 in the division. So the AFC South, like I said, is kind of up for grabs. And we saw that CJ Stroud, he was a better quarterback on Sunday.
And just because the name McCorkle was mentioned, did you guys see what he did to Sauce Gardner? Like, that is just has any of you, Toddy, you saw it, Manny, Khalil, have you seen what happened? Just look it up. Just look up Mac Sauce on Twitter.
Mac Sauce.
You'll find it.
Oh,
Mac Sauce.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, man. So basically, Khalil, and for our audio only listeners, and even everyone on YouTube, Twitch, and X, Mac Jones, dirtiest player in the game. I guess we could start calling him Triple H or Ric Flair, because he is the dirtiest player in the NFL. Has to be. Like
Grayson Allen.
The Grayson Allen of the NFL. What reason do you have to stand up and grab another man by the junk and like not just cup it, but like firmly just try to just rip that shit off? Like, bro, you are disrespectful.
Yeah, that's
like
an
on so many levels. Like, I mean, it would have been detrimental to Sauce, and for every cause there's an effect. And I know that Sauce is smart enough to not engage when Mac was trying to get in his head or whatever. You don't do that fucking shit. And when I saw it, it just made me so mad, because what makes you think that you can disrespect another man like that? Like, just goes beyond I just had to mention that because
Patriots put up 15 points. But not that good.
It just made me so upset, because if they weren't on that football field, Mac would have had his ass laid out, and that's it.
Yeah.
And all right, so Manny, I'm gonna toss it back to you, because the Seahawks, they beat the Panthers 37-27, led by the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton.
No, I'm excited that we got a W. I think it was a sloppy W.
It was.
But you take it how you can get it. You at least at the end of the day, you walked out with the W. But I will say this.
Who's your other running back?
Kenneth Walker.
No, the other dude.
Charbonnet.
He was going crazy.
Yeah, no, he did phenomenal. Like I'm glad we have 2 running backs, because that's the staple for the Seahawks, of having solid running backs and being able to run the ball, which is huge important, because it takes the stress and pressure off of having to always throw the ball and off the QB. But hey, we got the W on the back end. On the defensive side, we got to get more of a pass rush going. I think our D-line is okay, but we need to get to the quarterback. We need to get to the quarterback.
Well.
But we got the W, so that's what matters.
Yeah,
if you win the sloppy ones, that's what matters.
DK went off.
I played against him in fantasy. He went nuts.
Yeah.
And for everyone who is listening via audio, our friend Garry has made it home safely, as he has joined the YouTube chat because I told him that we all said that the Steelers were not for real, and so he wanted, fresh off of the flight, he might still be sitting in the airplane waiting to deboard. He said, a W, y'all. Steeler Nation took over Las Vegas, and oh, Lord, here he is again. FYI, we number 1 in the AFC North.
They're tied. They're tied, yes, with the Cleveland Browns.
Put that little asterisk on there, because you guys aren't undefeated, because the 49ers handed you your fucking ass in week 1. So there's that. Finally, Kevin, the Bengals beat the Rams 19-16 on Monday Night Football, and Joe Burrow, he played with a messed up calf again. Did we lose Kevin? I see Kevin's frozen on my screen. Toddy, how about that? Bengals.
So, I mean, we kind of saw Joe Burrow hurt a little bit. I wouldn't say a little bit, actually a lot. He wasn't really able to move as much. Not really able to throw the ball that much downfield. We saw some flashes here and there. Getting Jamar Chase involved finally, for the love of God, these past couple of weeks, Jamar has been invisible, I guess, because they weren't really able to get him the ball. But once you saw that, he almost put up, I think, the record for receptions or receiving yards in Monday Night history this past night. But I think if Joe Burrow doesn't play this game, they lose. So he definitely did play a big role in him just being out there. And they were actually able to run the ball. That's kind of been the common thing of this podcast, I think. I feel like if you're able to run the ball, you're going to be able to win games. And Joe Mixon had a hell of a game tonight. Matt Stafford had a really bad throw over the middle. He tried to do like a little sidearm, kind of. And Garry, for audio only, says haters, as they are tied for number one in the AFC North as of right now. The Steelers are. But going back to Matt Stafford, he had a really bad throw over the middle. They ended up turning the ball over for them. And I feel like that was kind of the game. The Steelers, or not Steelers, the Bengals were able to win the turnover battle, and kind of Joe Burrow was pretty much able to manage his way to a victory. And that's not really Joe Burrow's style. His style is more, I'm going to sling the ball down the field and kind of, more air raid. Tonight he was kind of more dink and duck, crossing routes, looking more over the middle and running the ball, and then using that to get the play action involved as well. So it was a little bit more of a different game plan for Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow and the Bengals tonight, but their defense was able to win the turnover battle, get stops, and they were able to run the ball, and Joe Mixon was able to run the ball very effectively for them. And that ultimately ended up getting their first victory. And I picked the Rams because I didn't know if Joe Burrow was going to play or not. He ended up playing, and I ended up being wrong.
It's okay. We know it was a week, or not a week, rough week for the hotline.